The Box of Silent Faces. The first time I touched the box, I swore I felt a pulse. A faint throb, like it had a heartbeat buried inside. The wood was cold, almost wet, and when I leaned close, I could hear something shifting, breathing. Tell me, if you found a box that whispered without opening its lid, would you dare to listen? It was late, the kind of night when the streets are empty and the city feels hollowed out. I'd just left a graveyard shift at work, exhausted, craving nothing but silence. That's when I saw it half buried in the alley behind the pharmacy. A wooden box, no bigger than a suitcase. Dark oak, iron hinges corroded with rust. No lock, no markings, except one. A single painted eye, staring dead center at me. I should have walked away, left it in the rain. But there's a trick our brains play when it comes to forbidden things. You don't want to look, but you have to. And the box knew I would. At first, I just carried it home. I told myself I wouldn't open it. Just leave it in the corner, let curiosity eat itself. But even as I set it down, I heard the first whisper. Not words, not yet. Just a soft rush of breath, like someone leaning too close to the phone. I lay awake that night, the box sitting on my desk across the room. I kept staring at the painted eye, and I could swear it blinked. By the second night, the whispers formed shapes, almost words, like voices underwater, trying to force their way through the surface. I tried to cover it with a blanket, but the whispers bled through. I shoved it into the closet, but in the dark, it sounded louder. That's when the faces began. Reflections, warped and pale, pressed against the wood from the inside. I only saw them when the lights were off. Faint outlines of mouths opening and closing. Hollow eyes, pleading. I should have thrown it away, but I didn't, because here's the truth. Once the box finds you, you don't get to leave it behind. And before I go further, let me say this. If the box ever comes to you, if you ever hear it breathing in your home, you'll need people to remember you were here. That's why I'm asking now. Subscribe. Not just for the story, but because proof matters. When the box takes you, memory is the only thing left. By the third night, the whispers knew my name. They spoke in voices I recognized. My mother's laugh. An old friend's voice, warped into something ragged and broken. They told me secrets I shouldn't have known. Things no one else could. I broke them. I opened it. Inside, there was nothing. Just blackness, deeper than shadow, deeper than night. And then the air shifted. A cold wind poured out, smelling of earth and rot. The faces weren't trapped in the box. The box was a door. They came crawling out, pale hands clutching at the floorboards. Silent, wide-eyed figures, each one with its mouth sewn shut. Their eyes screamed what their mouths couldn't. I tried to slam the lid closed, but the box wouldn't move. It pulsed against me, like a living heart. And in the dark, I understood it wasn't holding them in. It was holding them back. I don't know how long I ran. The figures followed, silent, dragging themselves along the floor, their mouths twitching, threads straining against skin. When I finally turned to face them, they were gone. But the box wasn't. It was waiting on the table, just where it had been before. Now the eye is always watching me. I've moved apartments twice, earned my clothes, tried to throw the box in the river. It always comes back. The whispers have grown clearer. They're not just names and secrets anymore. They tell me what's coming, what's waiting on the other side of the lid. And sometimes, late at night, I catch my reflection in the box's surface. My face, my mouth sewn shut. So if you hear a thud at your doorstep, don't open the package. If you see a wooden box with an eye painted on top, don't touch it. Don't even look too long. Because once you do, it sees you too. And if you hear whispers tonight, don't answer. That's not the wind. That's me, still inside the box, still waiting to get out. The box of forgotten names. The first time I opened the box, I saw my own name written inside, carved into the wood, shallow and jagged, like it had been scratched with fingernails. But here's the thing: I hadn't opened the box before. Someone else had. Someone who already knew me. It began at an estate sale, the kind of place where time feels brittle, where the air smells of mothballs and dust, and strangers' lives are stacked on folding tables for a few dollars apiece. Most of it was junk-cracked porcelain, yellowed newspapers, brittle furniture. But on the back shelf, away from everything else, sat the box. It was small, maybe the size of a shoebox, made of pale, unfinished wood. No hinges, no lock, no key. Just a sliding lid with a handle that looked like it had been worn smooth by decades of use. And burned into the front, in crooked letters, was a word: remember. Something about it made me pick it up. My hands shook, and I told myself it was just the weight of the thing. But it wasn't heavy. It was hollow. I asked the woman running the sale about it, but she only frowned, said it wasn't supposed to be out, said it belonged to the old man who died in the house, and that I should leave it where I found it. But the box was already mine the moment I touched it. That night, in my apartment, I set it on the table. I told myself I wouldn't open it, just let it sit there. But the word burned into the wood kept pulling my eyes back. Remember. And before I tell you what I did, let me stop here. If the box ever finds you, and it will, you'll need proof you were here. A mark left behind, so your name isn't lost when the lid slides open. That's why I'm asking now. Subscribe, not just to support this channel, but so someone knows you existed. Because when the box calls, memory is the only lifeline. I slid the lid open with a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Inside, I expected dust, scraps, maybe trinkets. Instead, I found names. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Thousands. All carved into the wood. Some were old, the edges smoothed down like they'd been there for centuries. Others looked fresh, jagged, as if carved yesterday. At first, I thought they were random. Until I saw mine. Not just my first name, my full name. My handwriting, etched into the wood grain, as though I'd been the one to carve it. But I hadn't. I swear I hadn't. I slammed the lid shut and shoved the box under my bed. But that night, the dreams came. I dreamt of voices calling my name, hundreds of them overlapping, whispering, pleading, screaming. I woke drenched in sweat, the sound still ringing in my ears. And when I leaned over the edge of the bed, the box had slid out on its own, sitting in the middle of the floor. The second night, I heard scratching. Faint at first, like nails against wood. Then louder, the sound of carving. I didn't open it. I couldn't. But in the morning, when I finally dared, there was a new name etched inside. My mother's. The third night, more names appeared. Friends, strangers, people I hadn't thought about in years. Each name came with a memory, something I'd long forgotten, until the box forced it back. A birthday party, a fight, a kiss, a funeral. But then the names started disappearing. At first, just one or two. I'd flip the lid open, searching for the people I knew, and find blank spaces where they should have been, like the memory had been carved out. And with each vanished name, I forgot. Faces blurred. Details dissolved. Entire people slipped away from me like smoke. I tried writing them down. I filled journals, notebooks, anything I could, desperate to hold on. But when the box erased them, the words turned meaningless. Whole pages went blank. I realized too late the box wasn't just storing names. It was feeding on them, erasing lives one by one. And the worst part? Every time a name disappeared, the box whispered mine a little louder. By the fourth night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the lid sliding open on its own. I nailed it shut, duct taped the seams, locked it in a trunk. But it doesn't matter. The box doesn't need opening anymore. It breathes now. I hear it in the dark, slow and steady, as if each inhale is a name being swallowed. I've checked inside, even though I shouldn't. My name is fading. The letters are thinner now, the edges worn smooth. When it's gone completely, I don't think I'll be here anymore. So listen carefully. If you find the box of forgotten names, don't touch it. Don't even look at it too long. Because the moment you do, it learns you. And once it learns you, it starts carving. And when the carving fades, so will you. So if you wake up tomorrow and there's a name you can't remember, a face you can't place, ask yourself, did the box take them? Or did it just move on to you? And if you hear scratching under your bed tonight, don't check. That's not mice. That's me. My name almost gone. The endless corridor. The first time I stepped into the corridor, I thought it was just a hallway, white walls, buzzing lights, and the faint smell of antiseptic. But the air was wrong. Heavy, like it had been waiting for me. Tell me, have you ever walked down a hall that didn't want you to reach the end? It started with rain. The kind that makes the world feel smaller, trapping you in sheets of water that blur headlights into streaks and smear neon into bleeding colors. My windshield wipers barely kept up, and my phone had already died, leaving me to navigate by instinct. That's when I saw an old medical building looming against the storm, like it had been forgotten by time. The sign above the double doors was too corroded to read, but the lock had been broken long before I found it. I told myself I'd only step inside long enough to dry off, long enough to wait out the worst of the storm. But I think the building had other plans. Inside, the waiting room was stripped bare. No chairs, no reception desk. Just tiled floor and the echo of dripping water somewhere deep within. I almost turned back until I noticed the door. It stood slightly ajar at the far wall, leading into a corridor that stretched farther than it should have. Too far for the size of the building. Fluorescent bulbs lined the ceiling, some flickering, some dead, humming with a sound that drilled into my skull. I told myself it was just perspective, just shadows. But when I stepped closer, I couldn't see the end of it. Just white walls and endless light. I walked anyway. At first, it was just strange longer than I expected, but not impossible. Until I noticed the details. A crack in the tile, a smudge on the wall, a burned out bulb. I passed them once, then again, and again. The same imperfections, repeating endlessly, like the corridor was looping itself. I stopped, turned, and walked back the way I came. But when I reached the spot where the waiting room should have been, it was gone, the entrance replaced with more hallway. That's when the panic began. My footsteps echoed too loudly, bouncing back at me like someone else was walking just behind. Every time I turned, the corridor stretched empty, but the sound never stopped. Halfway down, or maybe 100 times halfway, I started hearing whispers. At first, it was static, faint and low, buried under the buzz of the lights. Then, voices, my voice. Echoes of things I hadn't said yet, things I didn't want to say. I ran. My lungs burned, my chest tightened, but the corridor stretched forever, folding and bending until I could barely breathe. And my shadow, it didn't move right. It stretched longer, sharper, following a beat behind me like it wasn't mine anymore. If you were here, what would you do? Keep running? Or stop and listen? Because the corridor wants you to stop. It wants you to hear. And before I go further, if I vanish, this video might be all that's left of me. Subscribe now, because in places like this, memory fades. And if I fade, I'll need you to remember I was here. The whispers grew clearer. They weren't just my voice anymore. They were voices of people I knew. My mother, a friend I'd lost touch with years ago, a teacher from childhood. They spoke in tones that didn't belong to them. like the corridor was trying on their voices the way a puppet might try on masks. Then the doors appeared, dozens of them, built into the walls, each one labeled. My name etched on a brass plate, some with dates I recognized: my birthday, hospital visits, the day I'd broken my arm as a kid. Others had dates I didn't know. I tried one. Inside was my bedroom, exactly as I'd left it years ago. The posters on the wall, the stacks of books by my bed, the crooked lamp on the nightstand. Except I wasn't alone. I was already there, sleeping. My sleeping self rolled over, opened its eyes, and smiled at me. I slammed the door shut and ran, heart pounding. But the corridor didn't care. More doors appeared, more lives. Some versions of me alive, some not. Some doors opened onto nothing at all, just blackness, whispering my name. The longer I stayed, the stranger it became. The corridor breathed, I swear it. The walls pulsed faintly, like lungs inhaling and exhaling. And with each breath, the shadows grew darker. That's when I saw it. Not clearly, never clearly. Always just ahead, around the next corner. A figure made of static, the shape of a man, but wrong in every way. Too tall, too thin. Its hands bent backward at the wrists, reaching out. Every time I blinked, it was closer. I don't think it wants to catch me. I think it wants me to open another door. And I think it wants me to choose the wrong one. I've been walking for hours or days, maybe. Time doesn't work here. My watch stopped. My phone won't even turn on. Sometimes I think I hear the rain again, but when I try to follow it, I end up back where I started. The voices know me now. They don't just whisper. They argue, plead. Some of them cry. Some of them call me by names I don't recognize. I opened another door once. Inside was a hospital room. The smell of antiseptic hit me so hard, it burned my throat. On the bed lay someone connected to machines, wires running across their chest. It was me, but older. And the monitor beside the bed read a flat line. I closed the door, but I can still hear the beep of the machine echoing in my head. I don't know if there's a way out. Maybe the corridor doesn't end. Maybe it never began. But if you're hearing this, if this upload somehow reaches you, listen carefully. If you ever find yourself in a hallway that stretches too far, don't walk it. Don't listen. Don't open the doors, because every door is you. And once you step through, the corridor keeps the original. And if you hear footsteps behind you tonight, don't turn around. That's not your shadow. That's me, still trying to find a way out. The forest that whispers your name. Have you ever been lost in a forest so deep that it felt alive? Some woods don't just echo your footsteps, they echo you. I learned that one autumn night, when a wrong turn became a nightmare, I couldn't escape. And if you think forests are safe after dark, listen closely. Before I start, subscribe now. If I vanish, this channel will be the only proof I ever walked these woods. It began as a hike. The trail was lined with golden leaves, crisp underfoot. Birds called in the distance, and the wind moved gently through the branches. Everything seemed ordinary. I followed a smaller path, veering off the main trail. Sunlight faded quickly as the canopy thickened. Shadows stretched unnaturally. Leaves rustled behind me, but no wind blew. My pace quickened. A whisper brushed my ear. Soft, familiar. My name. I froze. Who's there? I asked. Silence then, the whisper again, closer. Not my voice, but mine. Branches snapped. Shadows flickered between the trees. I ran. The path twisted, narrowed, widened. Each turn brought me back to the same clearing I had passed moments ago. The trees shifted. Their trunks bent subtly, almost like doors closing around me. Every time I tried to climb over a fallen log or break through the underbrush, the forest adjusted. I wasn't lost. I was being herded. A figure emerged, tall, thin, limbs stretched impossibly, face obscured by darkness. Its eyes glinted faintly. I tried to call out. My voice echoed, warped. The trees repeated my words back to me, slightly delayed, slightly wrong. I stumbled. The mist rose from the forest floor, curling around my legs. Shapes moved inside it. Faces? Hands? I couldn't tell. I ran blindly, tripping over roots. Each time I looked back, a figure was closer. Not running, just gliding, almost floating. The forest began to whisper louder. Hundreds of voices, some mine, some not. "Stay, stay, stay," they chanted, overlapping, pressing into my mind. I reached a clearing with a pond. Its surface was glossy, reflecting the stars. Or what I thought were stars' tiny pinpricks of light, moving like eyes. I looked down at the water. My reflection stared back, mouth moving, whispering words I hadn't spoken. "We are waiting." I tried to run again. Paths shifted. Trees bent, branches scraping like claws. The ground warped underfoot. I realized the forest was not just alive. It was thinking, reacting, controlling. A breeze carried a smell earth, wet leaves, and something else. Metallic, iron, blood? I couldn't tell. My heart raced. I heard laughter, high-pitched, fractured, coming from everywhere and nowhere. I stumbled into another clearing. The figure stood there, taller than before, stretching impossibly to touch the sky. I wanted to scream. My own scream came out twisted, delayed. The reflection in the pond mimicked me perfectly, then smiled. I tried climbing a tree. Branches bent down to block me. Rocks shifted, roots tripped me. Every escape collapsed. Every step forward led me deeper into the loop. From the mist, dozens of shadows emerged, silent, watching, waiting. Some had my face. Some didn't. They whispered my name, laughed in my voice, pressed closer. I collapsed to the ground, panting. The figure approached. I could feel its presence pressing into my chest. Not touching, but heavy, like gravity bending toward it. I crawled, desperate. The forest around me breathed, inhaling my fear. I thought of running home, calling for help, escaping. But the road back was gone. I wasn't just in the forest. I was part of it. The pond shimmered again. My reflection raised a hand. I followed instinct. My hand touched the water. The reflection reached out from the surface. Cold, impossibly thin fingers gripped my wrist. I was pulled forward. Darkness swallowed me. Trees, shadows, whispers. Time and space dissolved. I felt myself splitting, my reflection moving independently, stepping out of the pond. It smiled at me. "Now you belong here." I woke on the forest floor. Mist rising, damp earth beneath me. The moon high overhead. Silence. But then a whisper, my own voice, carried on the wind. "Stay, stay, stay." I ran all night, never looking back. Days later, I checked the trailhead. The forest seemed ordinary again. But in every puddle, in every window reflection, I see it my reflection, smiling, waiting. I know the forest will call again. And when it does, it won't just whisper. It will take me completely. Because some forests don't just echo your footstep. They echo your soul. And they never let go. The street that looped back. Some roads never end. Not really. I learned this the night I took a shortcut through a neighborhood that wasn't on my GPS. Streetlights flickered. Houses looked familiar. And yet, I'd never been there. If you think all roads eventually lead somewhere safe, think again. Before I begin, subscribe now. If I vanish, this channel will be the only proof I ever walked here. The street was quiet, almost unnaturally so. I passed the first house, lights on, TV flickering. A family sitting at a table, but no one noticed me. I walked past. The next house looked exactly the same. The same furniture, the same TV show, the same people. My stomach turned. The street stretched longer than it should have. Houses repeated, every mailbox the same, every car the same model, parked in the same spot. I turned around. The way I came was gone. The houses behind me were identical. The same family at the table. A door opened in the distance. Shadows moved inside. I felt eyes on me, but when I looked closer, no one was there. Yet I could hear faint laughter. Not human laughter, something higher, shriller, like glass breaking softly. I tried to call out, but no sound left my mouth. My voice was swallowed by the street itself. The lamp posts flickered, and in that moment, I realized the street was alive. It remembered my steps. It mirrored them. It anticipated me. I walked faster. Every step led me to the same house, the same family, the same TV show, frozen mid-scene. The windows stared at me. Reflections perfect, but somehow wrong. My own face stared back, older, thinner, with eyes that didn't blink. I tried turning left, then right, then back, but each turn brought me back to the same intersection. The street signs rotated subtly, letters shifting when I glanced away. Elm Street, Elm Street, E1 Meter Street. From one house, a door opened. No one was visible inside. A shadow moved across the floor. I thought I saw a hand, reaching, pointing toward me. A whisper carried on the wind. Stay. I ran. I ran past the same mailbox, the same dog sleeping on the porch, the same car parked at the curb. The dog's eyes opened as I passed. Not just normal eyes, black, glistening, unblinking, staring through me. Every time I thought I'd found an exit, the street shifted. Curbs elongated, sidewalks twisted. Every tree I passed bent subtly, as if guiding me back. I was trapped in a loop, a living photograph I couldn't escape. A fog began to roll in, thick, cold, damp. It swallowed the houses as I passed, leaving them behind. But when I looked back, they were still there. Mirrors of reality, shifting but unchanging. I tried climbing over fences, breaking down doors, but the street adjusted. Walls rose, porches stretched. Every house became the same house. Every path became the same path. I noticed movement in the windows. Figures like marionettes, frozen mid-motion. One figure, smaller than the rest, looked exactly like me. It waved. I froze. The figure smiled. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide. You belong here now, it whispered. Panic overtook me. I stumbled, falling into the fog. When I stood, the street was gone. Or at least, it wasn't what I expected. Trees lined both sides now. Leaves rustled without wind. Footsteps echoed behind me, my own but multiplied. I ran blindly. Every time I thought I was approaching the real world, the street twisted again. Houses appeared in the mist, some familiar, some ancient, some impossible, like they'd grown overnight. The whispers became voices. Hundreds, layered, overlapping. Welcome, stay, forever, lost. I finally saw an intersection. 4 roads. Each looked normal. I ran down the left one. It led me back to the same house I passed at the beginning. I ran down the right. Same. I ran forward. Same. I turned back. Same. I stopped. Heart racing, lungs burning. I realized the street had swallowed me completely. Every exit, every turn, every escape attempt folded back into itself. It wasn't a road, it was a trap. I fell to my knees. Shadows flickered in the fog. The air pulsed around me, like the street itself was breathing. Then I saw it, a reflection, shimmering in the wet asphalt. Me, sitting on the curb, watching, smiling, mouth stretching wider with each breath I took. I stumbled forward desperate. Every step forward was mirrored by that reflection. Every move I made was anticipated. And then I understood. The street doesn't let you leave because it wants to remember you. It wants you to become part of it. I screamed. My voice came out, but immediately absorbed into the fog. My reflection reached out, pulling me toward the wet asphalt. I awoke on my couch. Rain outside, TV flickering, phone buzzing. A notification, a single photo. Me, standing on a street I didn't recognize. The house is perfect, windows staring, lights flickering. I haven't driven late at night since. But sometimes, when I glance down a quiet road, I see the same fog rolling, the same houses repeating. And I know, if I ever take a shortcut again, the street will loop back. It never lets go. And it always remembers your face